Righty, so this is all on now. Made the bolt for there, lubricated all this stuff in here. I'm probably just going to set it sideways, but that's probably no real biggie because it's going to come off anyway. It'd be upholstered or whatever. I've now got this piece here on. I did a couple of little modifications at the end of the little thing. I just added a little hook to the end of it with some weld, just so the spring can't come off easy. So yeah, that's pretty much that. That's what I've done just in the last, I don't know, hour or so, two, whatever, mucking around with this stuff. So yeah, I'm just going to work out what do I attack next. Yeah. Am I back to polishing? Maybe. Because it is now Friday. No, I was thinking about doing this Monday or Tuesday, but that didn't kind of happen. So yeah, we might be back to this stuff. So I might set up a panel stand too, and this has had at least a when did I paint this? Thursday night last week. So yeah, it's had a week and a day for any of this extra paint to cure. So yeah, I should better rub this back and it should be fine. Give it a light scuff and see if we can buff it up. I think that's about where we need to be. I'm just trying to think. Give me a minute and I'll just come back to you. Just think if there's anything else I need. I know the stuff that needs to be done, but I'm just trying to think what else is sort of next important. The only other thing I could do, but I really need extra set of hands, is to put the convertible top up and work out that webbing. But to be honest, I might almost, if I get the thing lower, I can just drop it down on the ground in the front and throw a bit of air in the front tyres. I actually need to just back. I was having a look at these. I think they just got them a bit tight. I have to back them off one. I haven't got the right split pins anyway because they're too small. We might just back those nuts off one side at some point. I could trim that fucking rubber away too. I'm just trying to think what else. I'm really, man, what are you waiting on? I got this cable. I can muck around with that. I'm just trying to think. Like I could polish that stuff up, but I could do it tomorrow. Saturday morning, I could start doing that Saturday morning. We might have a look at this. Let's see if we can make this work. Hopefully it's long enough. I haven't had a decent look at that yet. You might have a quick look at this. Set the camera up. Hold on. Right, carry on. So we now got that on the ground because I dropped it. So we got that fitting and repair. Well, I'll say it's just fitting nicely without fighting with it. So now it goes into there. So I've got plenty of room to solder or swap or whatever you want to call it. This end of this cable in. I got heaps of cable here. It's probably too much, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tin this, put that in there, solder it into there, I think, and then, just to quickly explain this again, and put that on there. Well, I'll rephrase that. We'll slide this onto the cable first. Put that in there, solder that in there, and then slide that on there, do it up, and then we'll throw a bit of solder back in there again, just so it's snug, and if it ever needs to come out, we can just heat it up and pull it out. I think that'll work. There's not as much force in it. Do we need to shorten it up or do we not? I think I better do a double, triple check and just make sure that we don't need to shorten this outer up and the inner up a foot or so. I'll just dress this little end up here. Don't go too far. So it seems we're about that too much long. And even that was being generous. Yeah, well, I could have taken more off, but I allowed a little bit extra just for a wee bit of mucking around, you know, where we can, if we have to, you know, I can take a bit off this. Like I left that on there just so like this wouldn't get all messed up on the end of it, but I might end up taking it off, I don't know. I might just shave this down a little bit more to get it to fit in the little grab in the carburetor. I think it will fit, but I might just try and shave it down a little bit extra than that. And we'll have to cut, obviously, heap off the end of it for this bit. But I think now we can safely go like, I think what we should do is clean all this shit up properly. A little bit of brake clean water. I'm gonna see if we can mash this stuff together, I think. Well, yeah, I got the choke cable working. It's not on. It's on there, but it's not on there. Yeah, I still haven't hooked to the carburetor. Fed it through behind the dash, and I was really, really dubious that little fucking copper pipe. Didn't want to break it, so I undone it from the back of the gauge, trying to be gentle. Fine, got it out because I had to slip the cable and the copper cable through the same hole. So I didn't want to be pulling on it or anything like that. Hooked that up, fed that through, got it hooked up, went to do the copper line back up on the back of the gauge. And when I did the nut up, just to try and give it, I sort of done it up, I guess loosely by hand, if you know what I mean. And got the little spanner in there and just gave it a couple of little tweaks. And I went to give it just one more just to make sure it was tight. The fucking brass tube moved because the stupid way they redesigned that fucking tube. Instead of being like the original, where it's got instead of being like this, where it's square and it can go into a square slot and can't turn. When I did that nut up the last little time on that other tube, it must have just twisted, which pulled that little freaking tube on it. It's not disconnected, but it must have just, it's broken the seal on the bottom of that glass tube, and it just pissed all that liquid into the bottom of the freaking gauge. Which pisses me off because like it was fucking expensive to get those bits here. Really fucking annoying. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it now. Right, I've just cleaned it out. So yeah, because this is, they haven't manufactured it like the original, which is a real pain in the fucking ass. Why they didn't try and make it like the original. But I was trying to take it off so I didn't get hooked up and pull on it, and for that reason, you know, when I've gone to do that little nut back up on the tube, slipped the back and then did it up, no, basically by hand, and just went a couple of little turns and then just gave it, thought of giving it another wee one, forgetting that it wasn't locked in a housing like the original, if you know what I mean. And the tube twists, and it must have been just enough to, because I'd only moved it freaking just a little bit, and it must have just pulled it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. It didn't do anything, and then I looked back across and all the fluids just running across the bottom of the gauge. And it's like, fuck, because it's like it was about $1,000 New Zealand to get that shit kit here, and now what do you fucking do with it? You know what I mean? Fucking pain in the ass. It pisses me off. All because they poorly designed this piece here. You know, like I would have filed that slot in there if I knew that it was going to work, but because they made it hex, I didn't, you know what I mean? There's not much you can do about it at that point, and it's that small. You know, I probably could have filed a slot in there, or at least half I filed a slot in there so it couldn't turn. But no. Yeah, as soon as you just give it just that extra little piece just to make sure it is snug, tube twists. It must have just pulled this enough to, I guess, that bottom right. It doesn't feel loose because it's glued in there. But yeah, it is now. Fucking pain in the ass. So yeah, I'm going to call that for the end of the day. It's just a fucking pain. I was just about finished with that thing, so I thought I've got all that through now. I haven't tightened the back of the choke cable up, but I had done the nut up so it's sort of half snug, so all I got to do is get in there and just with a bit of a spanner and just do it up. I thought I'll just hook that little fucking cable back up, that little fucking line, and break the fucking glass, obviously, or break the seal or whatever. It's a fucking stupid little fucking thing. Oh, it's so fucking annoying because it probably would have worked, but now I'll never fucking know. It pisses me off because, like, if he wants to replace it, it's another well, it's probably another $1,000 for that little fucking piece, but I charge so much for the fucking last rate, to get that little sight glass and whatever again, unless I can get it out there and I try and fix it. I don't know. Man, what a pain in the fucking ass. Sorry, I was pissed off. Man, I thought I was finished with that shit too. I thought I'll just pull it off just to be safe, so I don't end up tugging on it and breaking it or whatever, just to give me a little bit of slack when I'm freaking around with that shit. So yeah, so basically I got it in. Got a little bracket on here, a little clamp to bring that round and then to guide it back round so it's not getting hung up on manifolds or anything like that, if you know what I mean. So it's got a nice, reasonable loop back around here to the carburetor. I've just got it sitting in here and I've got to obviously do that up and cut the excess off and whatever, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I thought I'd button that end up and just like looking over, I tweaked it up and I was like mucking around there, doing up the nut and whatever, and I was like, there's no fluid in that gauge. I thought for a start maybe it had, because it undone the line, it had dropped. But then I thought, no, and then I could see that it was like the red fluid was starting to frickin' run around the bottom of the gauge. I was like, yeah, I know what's happened. You could just sort of see it. Man, what a pain. Fucking ass. Beep, 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 beep. Right, morning guys. So I've pulled this fuel gauge apart. I pulled the piece out of here. I think what's happened, I don't know if it's broken the glass or not. I'm about to find out. I think what happened was the little brass thing, when it turned that little tube, and I think it's broken the glue or whatever was in there. So I'll go find that hole. So after I undone the nut and everything off this and gave it a wee wiggle, it just pulled out. So whatever the glue was that this was glued in with, I think it let go. So to test that theory, I'm going to hold my finger on this end, which is the original open end, and I'm going to put a little bit of, well actually no, I'll do it this way. So I've been trying to dig the urethane out to see if I can get this out, to maybe try and repair it, glue it back in with something. I don't really know what. It's a bit of a, I think I can soon clean this shit off here, and if I push this in a little bit, you know what I mean, if I have this in here a little bit and then wiggle it in and put it like I don't know whether just a little bit of some sort of liquid epoxy, and then gently push it back into the glass and hope like hell it seals. It's all I can sort of think to do. Otherwise we're into getting another reservoir. I've got plenty of liquid. I got heaps of that liquid. Not enough to probably do it, flip another 2 times. And I still have the original glass. It's not very clean and clear, but it is there if I needed it. If this one does happen to be broken, if I have to get it out. So I've got a little finger on the end of here, hopefully. Try and seal it. Just want to see whether this will actually hold liquid or not. Whether it runs out somewhere, if you know what I mean. Okay. I think it is holding. Wish I had some way of just putting something over that to try and test it, if you know what I mean. It's hard to see. sneaky suspicion that glass is cracked mildly down the bottom. So I'm holding my finger on here. But the liquid's still coming up out of there. Like, I'm sure that would be enough of a seal on that piece with my finger on it. So we must have so we've got like a little chip in the glass. So let's see if we can get this out. And if I have to repaint here, what does it matter? See if we can get this glass out and see what's going on, and see if we can, we might even be able to get a new piece of that glass. I don't know where from, but I've still got the original piece, which is actually in that bottle soaking, to try and see if we can get it to come clean, because I can soon blow that one in there. Like, I'd like to have a nice and clear glass, but I guess that's probably just epoxied, and when it's twisted it's cracked and broken, if you know what I mean. It's just hard to tell. So I haven't got it out yet, if you know what I mean. So I'll see if we can get this out, and cause it's almost got that sound like it's broken down there. Looks like it. Hard to tell though. But anyway, I'll get it out and see if I can tell you. Fucking thing. Yep, definitely broken. Alrighty guys, so I'm just looking at the original glass here. It's a little bit bigger, but this here is actually quite a bit longer. So I don't actually need all this length. If I can get that trimmed off somehow and get that glass re-glued in. It's a shame it wasn't a bit heavier like the original, but I would use this, but it's dirty, and I don't think I'd ever get it clean. Maybe if I had a pipe cleaner, like a really fine one, I might better get in there and clean the shit out and glue or epoxy or whatever this tube in there. But yeah, I just don't know what else to do, if you know what I mean. So I've got a little bit of length to play with. Where's that housing? Oh, it's back over the other side. It just means that copper, I don't have to have it all the way up in there either, if you know what I mean. We can play with it a little bit. We can get it to jiggle. You get that bit of fucking shit out of there. But yeah, if I can get that cleaned off somehow without smashing the rest of the fucking tube, and then work out what do I need to use to glue it in or epoxy it in, which I don't know, but Google, do a bit of research, because by the time I've got the video up, I probably would have done it, so it's probably not much point asking you guys, but yeah, we'll do some research, I guess. Let's see if we can work out how to frickin' make this work again. Unless I can get a little bit of glass tube from somewhere. Well, I'm not throwing a tanty. Just grinder on the belt sander and the bottle of water and just keep dunking it and shaving it off and dunking it and shaving a little bit off. I managed to get it down. It's not perfectly straight, but I don't think it matters. We'll just grind it down, and then I just chamfer the edges a little bit. So yeah, we'll work out how to epoxy it or seal it back in there, I guess. How's it for length against the original? It's still a longer, so you know, we've still got it. I don't know. Heading towards a 1/4 of an inch there, longer than what it needs to be, or what it used to be. So yeah, we'll see if we can work out how to glue this fucking copper tube in here now. Bound to be a way. Righty, I think I'm going to use a 2-part epoxy or possibly could even use super glue. I watched a couple of videos on some guys gluing some bolts just direct to glass. Obviously they ground the head of the bolt, or clean the head of the bolt up, and obviously wiped it all down so it was clean, and then they just mixed up. They used super glue, 2-part epoxy, and a couple other different things, and there's only one of them really failed, but the 2-part epoxy, they had a piece of glass clamped in a vise, and they actually had a bucket hanging on the end of the bolt, so it was about 3 inches out, and actually it was the one that actually smashed the glass before the weight of the bucket actually pulled the bolt off. Yeah, they actually smashed the glass, so the connection never broke, per se, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it was quite interesting. And the guy actually, I don't know how big the bucket was, but it had, I think it had 26, what did he say, 26 pounds in it. So he was filling it full of water to start off, and most of them exceeded the weight of the water, except for one. And then he put lead weights in the bottom of the bucket, about 10 pounds of lead weight, which is obviously, I think the bucket could hold about 15 pounds of water, what if it was. And then, yeah, he put 10 pounds of lead weights in the bottom of it, and then filled it full of water again. Yeah, and the epoxy was the one that actually broke the glass, not pulled the bolt off. So yeah, hopefully that will work. And I think what I'll do is probably put a little bit around here in the end of this, trying not to get it anywhere near this, and then poke it into the glass, and then obviously put a bit more around the bottom of the glass. And hope it stays. We'll just have to sit it and leave it for 24 hours sort of type thing, and then put it back in. So it's kind of a plan, because you have to put a little bit, just keep it away from that end, put a bit of a dollop around the end of that, poke it into the glass, and then maybe put a little bit more around the end of the glass and try and glue it in. I'll just have to mark on the glass how far up and do it, or maybe just put a little tape around it or something like that, so I know to not go past there. But I think what I'm going to do first is make this so it can't twist.
Audio Jungle.
I'm gonna glue it and see if we can make honey of the dog shit. So they say. Alrighty, I'm trying to get myself ready here to glue this back together. So I got some Loctite 2-part epoxy, same as most of the other ones, I guess. So I'm just trying to get myself sorted out here to get this up here on here. I'm going to try and get it, say it's sitting there stable. I'm going to try and get myself a little block of wood or something like that. Just going to trim a piece up so I can have this sitting here and tape it to, well, tape it or sit it to this, the end of the glass exposed, maybe just a couple of pieces of tape over the wood. It's too thick at the moment, but, and then once I've got that situated and I'm happy, so I can't move, then I'll mix up the epoxy and we'll put it in around. I've got a little fine, a paper clip basically, that I'm going to poke down the tube, poke in here, in the end of the little copper tube, just in case some of the glue gets up in there, so it can't get back in that hole and leaves it open, just in case. And then once it's all glued up and I'm happy, because it is getting slightly on today, I wouldn't say on today, but on in the morning anyway. And then once I'm happy and it's all glued and it's sat there for 5 or 10, I'll pull this out and it will bugger off and I'll leave it alone. And I'll probably come back tomorrow or something like that, and just put it back in the housing and we'll do a test to make sure it works. And if it doesn't work, well, we'll go back to the drawing board and we'll start again Monday. I think it should work fine, but you never fucking know, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I'll just see if I can get this wood a bit thinner, just so I've got something to rest that tube on, and got a couple of bits of insulation tape around here somehow, just to hold everything in place, so it can just sit there and set without being bumped, moved, wiggled, falling off, and making me beat myself to death again. Right, so we'll trim this up a little bit further, we'll find something a bit better. I might find something a little bit better, and I was contemplating to use a piece of this, but I want to use that to mix the glue up on. So I might just find something a little bit better floating around, and we'll come back. Right, so I found a piece of timber, if I can do that. I just put a little black mark on the back of this. I'm going to put it on the back side, so it'll be on the side of the gauge it's not seen, if I can't clean it off. So that's where the top of the base of the gauge is. So I'm just going to leave that up a little bit. So I'm going to put another little piece of tape around here, gently-ish. Insulation tape. Don't make myself fucking nervous with this shit. I'll just tape that to there so it can't move. There's already got plenty of tape around there. I don't need to go around again. It just needs to stay. Come back. Keep that about there. Just gotta hold it. So it can't wiggle jiggle to give me access around the back. We've got our little needle. I don't think we'll need it, but we'll just poke-a-doke it with that up in there into that little copper pipe. I'll just put a little bit of just in case I happen to bump it, knock it, whatever. Just so it can't fall out, hopefully. Cautious, probably over cautious. Right, we'll mix some glue. So that should be good now. Right, let's open our. I've got a couple little small sticks I made to hopefully poke it in here. Just in the side. Look from the side. You know, everything. Mix that epoxy. I did clean the rice down. Right. Take that lid out of there. We have to cut the end of it, don't we? Right. And then squeeze a bit in there and mix her up. Blunter than old Maud's fucking ass. It's probably do have a blade somewhere, but razor blade, but that's good. No, I've got two brand new fucking Stanley knives somewhere. I've got two new blades and Stanley knives somewhere. Well, put a blade. So here, I will leave this one. I'll leave this knife over here because I bought a new one the other day and it comes with extra blades. I'll put another blade in the other one. So I wouldn't have that problem. Right, let's put a bit of shit down there. I shouldn't need any more than that, surely. Poke that on there, I guess. Like that. Pull pockets in there. Sit there. Up there. We'll mix our goo. It's nice and thick, so see if we can gently get it in here. Kind of will take everything together, if you know what I mean. So just scrape it back together. Just try and gently. Push it in there, top, bottom and sides. But yeah, we're glued on. He's fucking open. Right, just quickly before I run away for the day, so I had to take the choke part of the carburetor off because I'd cleaned this up, but I didn't realise it was quite so poor, the screw. Well, I probably did at the time, but you know what I mean, like just probably didn't think about it, probably freed it up and thought, oh yeah, that'll be fine. For this little clamp in here to get the to hold the outer cable So I'm just going to test that. Okay, well, and I've cut in here. Make sure it will clamp in here before I reassemble it Monday or tomorrow or whatever, if you know what I mean. Make sure it will hold in here. May as well freaking test it here, and then I can, because it's pretty awkward to do in there. Yeah, it's going to hold. That's cool. That is a bit awkward. Actually, a little nut on there would have been far better than that, if you know what I mean. I could have got on there with I don't know, like some of the real small, like a 1/4 inch spanner or 5/16 spanner or something like that. Would have been a far better deal on here, but they seem to do everything like that with little flathead screws back in the day. But yeah, that's going to hold, so that's fine. Cool. So I found a better screw. I just hunted through, just keep pulling screws out of those other carburetors until I found something that's going to do the job. That's good. So that's going to work. That's the main thing. And put that back together Monday morning, or I might do it tomorrow when I shoot down and have a look at this, because I don't want to leave this here too long. I want to get this off here and just assemble it back in there. I don't want to put it back together, but I would like to just put some sort of liquid, like I said, put a couple of little drops of ATF in there to see if it comes up and just see if it holds. Not so much that red liquid, because I've only got a certain amount of that. Once I've got rid of it, I've got rid of it, if you know what I mean. But I could do the same. I could use a little eyedropper, put a couple of drips of ATF in there, let it come up, let it settle, let it sit there until Monday, sort of type of thing. And if it's still in the little glass tube Monday morning, I can pull it apart, rinse it out with some brake clean, let it sit for till Tuesday or whatever, or even later on in the day if it's nice and warm. Once it's all the brake clean and everything's evaporated out of there, we can assemble it, put the proper fluid back in there. We can glue all this back in properly and go from there, I guess. And hopefully that's all right. This is like, it's been here probably 35, 40 minutes. That stuff is sticky like that's pretty glued up on there. So I think it should, hopefully, as long as a bit's gone up in the glass tube, which I've tried to push in there, I think as long as there's a bit in there and the reasonable holder in there, I think we should be good. I'm hoping so. We'll test it tomorrow. I think I'll come in here for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, do a little test, and we can check it Monday. At least then I'm not wasting time. You know what I mean? Monday, testing it, I can just come in and check it. Sweet, the fluid's still in there, it's still sitting half full or whatever. No, it should be good. Clean it out, refill it, put it back in, whatever, glue it back in the housing, and to be done with it. And yeah, pray that fluid doesn't screw it up, because I got the fluid in here, wrapped up with some black tape around the, because I know it is a wee bit light sensitive, that stuff, supposedly. So I put a bit of black tape around that tube so it's not exposed to light and it's in a slightly dark place, and I taped it to the side of there so it can't leak out. So I've got enough for at least a couple, maybe 3 fills. But yeah, it'll just be nice to have a little bit extra if it ever needs it. Again, if leave it leaks, whatever, down the line we can maybe do another little repair like this. So yeah, right, we'll see you Monday or tomorrow. No, we'll see you tomorrow for about half an hour-ish. That's right. Morning, guys. Welcome back again. Monday. I was going to come down here yesterday, but in it with doing other things that everybody wanted to do. I was hoping to get down here, but it just didn't end up fitting. I probably could have shot down here last night and tested this, but I thought, oh, might as well just do it Monday. So anyway, we'll get this fuel gauge repair off here. We'll sit it in the housing. We'll put out a little bit of fluid in it of some description. Hopefully something that I can see in here reasonably easy. Let it sit. Make sure it doesn't leak. And we'll go from there, I guess. What else can you do? So, instead of thinking just trying to unwrap the tape off here, we'll just make the tape. Right, we'll sit there and watch that for a bit. I'll let you guys stare at that for quite a few minutes, and I'll do some other shit. Right, so that's been basically half an hour. So I think we're good. I don't see any leaks, drips, whatever. It's still at the same level by the looks of that. So I think we're good. We'll call that a win. Right. Oh. So now we've got that sorted. Let's come around here and I'll show you the next dilemma that we might have encountered. So just tried to put the convertible top up so I can work out the last bits and pieces for that. Obviously I've still got to polish that, but I was just going to pop it up so we can at least start doing that. And what we just realised is, let's do this. If I can screw up my stupid tripod that's broken. Is I had that windscreen frame and the hinges in and out several times, and I think what's happened is when I've had the top up and I set the distance for these, I don't think I ever had the windscreen frame in, and we just noticed, well, I haven't really noticed, but you know what I mean, in here, this is quite close between this post between here and here. So we don't know whether maybe this has been damaged, it's been rethreaded and it's a bit shorter, because you can see where this is going. There's quite a gap in here. Like you can see there's a bit more of a gap. Try to get you in there. I know it's on an angle, but sorry, I can't do much about that. It's on the tripod. So there's a bit more of a gap in here than all there is in there. So I know when I put this back in and tighten all this up, it pulls the frame in a bit. Now I thought that I'd set those measurements with the windscreen frame in, but I may not have because we're about half hole out, unfortunately. So I think what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to finish buttoning this up. I'm basically there. The choke cable works fine. I'll just quickly show you that. I'll zoom in a bit. So that works fine. So that's good. At least we've got a win. We've got another win. And this choke cable caused the other problem, but we've got that sorted. We're just going to put it back together and put it in. And I hope like how we don't break it, but I think we've fixed the dilemma of the brass piece turning, so we shouldn't have that issue when we do the copper line back up. But I think what I'm going to have to do is get up here and do a measurement across the tops of the balls. I'm going to take this nut out and just see that maybe I might be better off to get some nuts made to see whether we can maybe put like a little bit of a countersink of a Boss in there for thread that winds into these a little bit. We'll see. I'll take the nuts off, have a wee look, because I know this is going to spring out. Hopefully it doesn't cause me too many issues with this shit here I just made. Because the frame's now not going to be quite wide enough. I'll get adjustment in here, so that's okay. Like that will pop in and out plenty to still engage. So that's fine. It's just a matter of just being tight enough to hold it. But I think by the time it gets a bit of material, it might be a wee bit of saving grace because we have a wee bit of a seam around here, I'm guessing. So that might be fine. We just might have to get some nuts made up with a small, like I said, Boss. And maybe I could go a slightly bigger size than these, if you know what I mean. And get a couple of brass nuts made up and we'll just polish them up. I might just get the engineers to whip them up for me. And then that'll let this come out and it'll save me altering this shit. Because, yeah, I don't really want to I don't want to re-drill the wood. I could cut these off, fix this, jiggle it over a little bit somehow, see if I can get them a little bit closer. Like I could shave a bit off here. Sorry. I could shave a bit off the edges of this to jiggle them both in a little. But if I can achieve the same result by maybe getting a couple of nuts made, little shanks, so we don't have to just quite squeeze those posts in quite so much. Well, we might be, we might gain a little bit here and there, if you know what I mean. So yeah, didn't quite foresee that dilemma. I thought I'd actually measured and set these up with the frame in, but maybe I didn't. I know I had the frame in and out several times. Yeah, or maybe I had the frame in, but maybe I didn't have nuts on the fucking end of it. That might have been what it was. Because, yeah, I didn't have anything to fit at that point. That's probably what it was. I bet you had the frame in, but never had it squeeze. You never had nuts in there to tighten it up. So, yeah, we might pop those nuts off. I'll just finish butting that, put the air cleaner back on, make sure the screws are tight. We'll pop that off, have a wee look, and I might go do a wee trip and see if I can get some nuts made. And then I'll go back to that, get that gauge back together, get that back in, and then while I'm waiting on those nuts to be made, and check the depth and just see what I got to do till I get those nuts made the right depth, so get a little bit of engagement into the thread. I'll start wet sanding and polishing those again, and hopefully we can get enough distance so I don't have to alter this stuff to make it fit, and then we can work on fitting all this, do all the capping, and then get the window frame curtains made. Yeah, and go from there, I guess. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. Righty. Righty. So I just flick that upside down, let that drain, let it air out. So I'll deal with these frickin' windscreen posts and just see what I could have frickin' do there now. See what we're gonna do here now. It's a pain in the ass. Anyway, that's the things you find when you make stuff and then you realise that maybe you didn't have all the completed components there. That's alright. Shit happens, eh? Shit happens, eh? So yeah, there is a bit of room in there. So maybe that's what we need to do. Is yeah, is just get a countersunk nut. You know, nut with a shaft into it. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. I can always get them to make them a little bit long and then I can just trim it off. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Yeah. I'll always measure up and we'll go from there, I think. It's a shame I don't have somebody back here again. I'll have to bring the old man around or something like that and flip that post up, but yeah. Oh. Put a quick measure in here to see what the distance is in that. I'll get it so it threads into there and yeah, I'll just get them to make the bosses a little bit long and I can just shave a bit off if I need to. That'll be the easiest way to do it. I'll just get them made out of brass. Righty. Right, so just went and seen the engineers, drew up a couple rough just measurements and plans. Basically, just told them what I needed. Obviously the depth, size of that space in there, it's just slightly under 1/2 inch. It needs to be about 7 mils deep, which is not quite 5/16. It's between sort of 1/4 and 5/16 deep. That's 5/16 fine thread, and then I'm going to get them to make a 5/8 don't head nut on the end of it, bit of brass. So yeah, as long as that's the depth is good and all that sort of stuff, we should be fine. I might just have to maybe just sand the outside of it just to make it slip in there, possibly. That should be good. So I should bow to, now I'll put the top up. These are spread quite a bit. I've adjusted these with the little locks and pushed those pins out a bit further. So that's fine. Everything else looks like it's good. Everything else looks like it's good. It hasn't really affected this much. It's just sprung open a little bit, and it's probably put a little bit of tension on these sideways, but it's no major, I don't think. As long as that was jumped out frickin', you know, an inch or anything like that, it's probably jumped out. Well, it's probably 3/8, I guess, maybe 1/2 inch tops. You know, there's bound to be enough. Well, these here, you know, aren't. It's, you know, it's probably put a little bit of paint on in here, but it's probably nothing that it wasn't before anyway. On the other car, so that's no biggie. These here are free to move within that, so like that's not a. As long as this is physically attached to that, so it should be fine. It should be good. So once I get another couple of hands here again, maybe hopefully later on today or something like that, we'll get that back up. But I think in the meantime, I am going to play with those bits again and get them wet sanded and polished, and then yeah, work out what we're going to do from there. I can pop these on at some point. I'll probably do that when I got that up. Actually, I've got to still put the gauge together, don't I? So I might put the gauge together, and then after lunch, that won't take me too long to put together. It might be a wee bit of an hour mucking around, getting that back together, getting the thing filled up, getting it back in there. Hopefully, yeah, it shouldn't take me any longer than that. And then we'll muck around with that stuff. Yeah, so we'll do that. And at some point, once we get this stuff up and get this set, the distances, and get the locks back on, get these locks on, make sure that's all sitting up there nicely, get our seatbelt type webbing attached. So probably it'll come over from the top. So I'll probably do a loop. I'll probably put it on here, go around. So it's got like a double loop on here. Staple it twice. Obviously measure our distances. And then get it back to here at the right distance. And obviously back to here and back to here. And then back down onto the back of the body. And I will staple it at each point. And work all that out. So once these are set in position, it should be able to just pull it up, and that should pull the next one and pull the next one, with the webbing as well as obviously the mechanical, but it all should gather it all up and open it up. It should be less of a drama to open up. Obviously it still really needs to be two people putting it up, otherwise this here will drop down into bodywork if you're not careful. But I guess that's just the nature of the beast of how they were built. So yeah, that'll be what's sort of happening in the next couple of days, I guess. So yeah, but anyway, we'll get that fuel gauge together. That should have had plenty of time to dry out. We'll get the gauge together, we'll get it filled up, back full of fluid, the proper shit, and we'll put it in.